Welcome everyone to the Monday, April 18th, 2022 regular meeting of the Jersey Village City Council. The time is now 7 o'clock p.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum of council present?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. Next on our agenda is Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by Stephanie Otto, Commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Please uncover. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide our hearts and our mind in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Next up, we have a presentation of the Police Department Employee of the First Quarter by Stephanie Otto, Commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Thank you. Each quarter, the American Legion Post 324 Jersey Village Department Employee of the Quarter Selection Committee meet to review a list of candidates selected by their peers. This is in no way a simple task. Of all of the employees of the department are outstanding individuals that serve a purpose greater than themselves. For the first quarter of 2022, the American Legion selection of Officer of the Quarter is Officer Bryant Wells. Officer Wells has shown a high level of professionalism, dedication, and productivity. He loves his job and his work performance shows it. We thank you for your service and dedication to this department and our community. All these attributes work together to ensure that Jersey Village Police Department works smoothly and provides our residents peace of mind and makes Jersey Village a destination community. Other officers nominated this quarter are Officer Bearden, Officer Garcia, Captain Paz, Officer Brandon, Officer Walker, Corporal Polster, Detective Taylor, Officer Skiro, and Officer Gonzalez. Thank you all for your continued performance and dedication to our community. Thank you.
Okay, next we have a joint public hearing, conduct a joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission for the purpose of receiving oral comments from any interested persons concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Article 4, Section 14-107 concerning permitted and specific uses in District H, Industrial District. We do have present the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we do have a quorum of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I now call to order this joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission at 7:04 p.m. Everyone desiring to speak should complete a public hearing comment card and present the card to the City Secretary. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to present information concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Article 4, Section 14-107 concerning permitted and specific uses in District H, Industrial District. Now, none of the public comment cards that I have indicate that they are for this joint public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak on the subject matter of this joint public hearing? There being no one desiring to speak, I now close this joint public hearing on the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Article 4, Section 14-107, concerning permitted and specific uses in District H, Industrial District, at 7:05 p.m. Which brings us to citizen comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda, the city staff and city council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policy. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to City Council. The first card I have is from Jim Fields.
Mayor and City Council, my name is Jim Fields. I live in 16413 St. Helier, and I want to thank you again for allowing me to contribute to tonight's City Council meeting. Founders Day was absolutely exceptional. I sat in on just one day on the Parks and Recreation Committee and was extremely impressed by the enthusiasm and the contribution by all members. And I couldn't believe it talking to Robert Bassford. I wish he was here. It was just fantastic. That guy is extremely detailed. We're talking about even to the people who might be sensitive to the fireworks going off there, taking care of them, making sure everybody's safe and having that proper police and fire department there. Austin Police, you have a very good hand there, and I congratulate you on hiring him. He's excellent. Thank you again. And again, kudos again to the police and fire departments for making it safe for everyone. And special mention to Councilwoman Mitchum and her husband for the fireworks. That was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Thank you again, please. Moving on the golf course, nothing but good news there again. It was unbelievable. I remember attending it probably about 8 years ago, and it was like a ghost town. And then we hired Matt Jones, and with Jennifer Johnson, they have, and this is what his estimated proceeds per month, we're going from $2,000 a month to $20,000 a month. Absolutely incredible. And I'm hoping we stay on this course, become a self-sustaining entity, and recommend that we build a new clubhouse after the golf course is paid off. I think this thing it's just unbelievable. I didn't have time to talk to them. They were so busy, the phone was literally ringing off the wall. So, city beautification. Thanks again. I think this is the beautification project is taken on by City Manager Blease. Prior to that, you had no idea about the city. Now, when you go to our city, you definitely notice that we have pride in our city. And what does that do? That attracts businesses and excellent neighbors. So thank you again, City Manager. Safer streets. We have a little bit of problem on Village Green, and maybe everybody else is running into it too, is that we have that black Camaro, and they have nowhere to park on those, the townhouses along the right-hand side as you're outbound. And so I guess that one guy's visiting, or maybe he's taking care of his elderly parents, I don't know. And I'm hoping that, and I don't know if it's possible or not, is that we can have a parking lot, some sort of relief on the other side, or make the street widening, just throw out this. I don't know what's possible, but just something to suggest. And also, we still have a problem with speeding in the city. And I think it's wonderful, Mayor, that you have the radar marquees in place, because that definitely slows them down, because I see that on Jersey Drive. However, I do believe that if we had police cruisers positioned in the hot spots during the days we have the most problems, and rotate them throughout the city, I think we might get a little bit more safe there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim. The next card I have is from Mark Malloy.
Hi, my name's Mark Malloy. I live at 7803 Hamilton Circle, past City Council member for the City of Jersey Village, Texas. Citizens' comments for the 04/18/2022 council meeting. Please make my verbal comments and documents given to the city secretary a permanent record of this meeting. The current mayor has said several times in the past that if the JV government already has the funds to do a project, the city charter does not allow them to get approval from the JV taxpayers through an election vote. I believe that the Jersey Village City Charter needs to be amended by the citizens to revise the city charter to say that the Jersey Village government, even if it has accumulated millions upon millions of excess taxpayer monies, that the JV government will have to ask the JV citizens during a regularly held election or special election if the taxpayers want the city revenue spent on a project that the JV government wants to do. Examples of this is to build a new city hall for an estimated $10.25 million, or to spend $5.5 million on a new golf course clubhouse when the original thought by the council was to do a renovation of the existing golf course from somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000. Oh, dang it. I'm going to have this problem again. The JV government has also accumulated enough money in the past to purchase 33.9 acres of land, an estimated 33.9 acres of land for $8.25 million, which, you know, the citizens didn't get to make any decision on if they thought that was a good idea. So if the JV government can do all of this spending, then the tax rate has been too high for many years. The JV citizens have been bamboozled. The JV government should give the JV citizens the full state of Texas allowed 20% homestead tax exemption instead of the 14% the JV government is letting the JV taxpayers have currently. So I guess that's about all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And the last comment card I have is from Kimberly Anow.
My name is Kimberly Anow, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 8th installment on Jersey Village, this spring and summer session has a myriad of upcoming community activities on the site of the former F&M Dairy Ranch of Jersey cattle that Clark Wilcox Henry ran from 1938 to 1948 before transforming in the early 1950s into a housing community and then an incorporated city on April 16, 1956. Founders Day celebrated the 66th year of Jersey Village on Saturday, April 9th at Clark Henry Park and was well attended by happy faces and excited children. The hard and dedicated work by the Parks and Recreation, police, and fire departments was also well-rounded by other contributors, such as the Jersey Village Women's Group, numerous vendors for music, food, and drinks, along with face painting, a Ferris wheel, and more activities, followed by the first ever mesmerizing professional fireworks show. This was just the beginning of another fabulous year of our small town attractions with the warmer weather setting in. Villagers can enjoy the farmers market on the first and third Sundays from 11 to 2 o'clock at the Civic Center, art classes on first Fridays, pickleball, fitness camps, sand volleyball, golf camps, swim lessons, senior fitness classes, children's soccer and baseball leagues, the JV Stars swim team, a movie night, plus trail tales along Clark Henry Park. The swimming pool season begins on Saturday, May 28th to August 15th, then on weekends until September 5th, featuring remodeled restrooms. And this is no longer just any regular swimming pool, as 2 rock climbing walls have been installed, creating even more fun for everyone. 4th of July will be on a Monday with the parade beginning at 10:30 from the Civic Center, making its way along Jersey Drive to Clark Henry Park, which will be filled with live music, food, shopping, and games for the whole family. The cherry on top will be another donor-funded, professionally run fireworks display. I found out about these exciting activities in the Park and Recreation's catalog, The Best Way to Play, Play Guide Spring Summer 2022, which is mailed to residents. The community friends acknowledgments on the back cover include the Harris County Fairbanks Branch Library, Post Elementary and Jersey Village High Schools, locally owned restaurants Little Kitchen, HTX, and Senate Avenue Brewery Company, and the Jersey Village Senior Outreach Group, among other fine organizations that truly support our city and the citizens to have a wonderful experience living here. Additional details for all the activities can be found on the city's website, jerseyvillagetx.com/page/parks.home. The Parks and Recreation Department is responsible for the city's parks and open spaces, trails, boulevards, community pool and splash pad, events and programs, the Jersey Meadow Golf Course, and management of city facilities. Be sure to visit our city parks, Carroll Fox, Clark Henry, Philippine, Welwyn, and Jersey Meadow Nature Trail and Dog Park during every season. From singles to multi-generational families, living and thriving in Jersey Village is full of fun activities for the young and old alike, thanks to our hardworking and creative city departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Those are all the citizen comment cards that I have. So that brings us to the city manager's report. Do any council members have questions for the city manager, or does the city manager have any items he wishes to highlight?
I have go ahead, Austin. Did you
I was going to say we could start with questions.
Well, then I'll be happy. I actually have a couple, so you can answer in any order. One, can you give us an update on where we are with Tiers 3, and maybe even refamiliarize us with the process on selection, etc.? Another thing was close to Tiers 3 are Bayou Trails, so I didn't know if we had an update on the bayous and progress on those things.
So with TERS 3, the history, we sent surveys out to people in that TERS zone. There were 3 homeowners that said that they would be interested in selling their homes to the city in 2022. We worked with the homeowners to get appraisals, market appraisals done by an independent appraiser. The appraisals came back, and the appraisal prices were the purchase prices. So what the independent appraiser says was the value of the home. That's what the home was purchased for. 2 of those homes have been purchased. The 3rd one should be purchased in mid-May. Right now, for the 2 that have been purchased, we're waiting on CenterPoint to kill the gas connection there, and then demolition will happen within a few days after that. With the one that will be purchasing in May, we've learned a few lessons in this process, and we'll have that one torn down hopefully before June.
And we're actually getting use out of those properties we've purchased.
Correct. Yeah, the fire department's been able to get in there and practice some of their techniques and everything that they need to practice. As for the trails, the flood control is connecting Clark Henry Park to the trail system, but that is as far as the trails will go along the bayou through Jersey Village. There's no plans, absolutely no plans to put trails into Jersey Village along the bayous behind the homes there on Jersey or that stretch of the E100. With the E127, we are looking at the potential of adding a trail system from Rio Grande to Jones Road to accommodate the development over there, but there is no plan to put trails behind the homes along Delosier, Wall Street, and the other streets that way. So the trail connections that we have would not go behind homes along the bayou.
Thank you.
With
Take it that would require the purchase of property, which we are not willing to allocate funds for.
Right. The right-of-ways that are owned by flood control do not allow for trails, so it would have to go back and repurchase that right-of-way, which that'd be a flood control thing that they would take the lead on.
Seeing as how they are redoing it right now and they didn't purchase any property, it doesn't look like they're going to be doing that.
I would doubt it.
With TERS 3, I'm I'm thrilled we were able to get use out of the homes, and the fire department, the police department used them. One of the things that was really important to the TERS board was curb appeal. Are we going to be able to make sure in the future, in this next house, and as we continue to fund this project, I think everybody's committed to funding this, that we're going to be able to maintain curb appeal?
We'll have the timing much more hammered out before we get in there and allow the training to happen.
Thank you.
I have a question concerning dog park. I heard of just gossip of an incident happening out there in this past month. Has something happened?
I'm not aware of any incidents.
We didn't have a dog get killed?
I'm not aware of the death of any dog.
Okay, I guess it was just gossip then.
Sounds like it definitely could have been. I don't know if the police department's heard of anything. I haven't heard of anything. That's something that I probably would have been made aware of, but I have not heard anything on that.
My next comment is on the golf course, and I'm happy to see the numbers, and yeah, I mean, the staff we have is really good. My concerns are the problem areas on the greens, and right now the grass is growing, and I'm seeing that obviously they've fertilized and done their job there, because the growth has caused the grass to be thick on the greens and the fairways, but the problem areas are not getting resolved, and I don't know why the attention's not being put to those problem areas.
I know Robert and I had a pretty in-depth conversation on this probably a week and a half ago, and Robert and Matt we're going to be working to make sure that those areas did get the attention that they need, because that is absolutely correct. We want those greens to be in great shape, and there's definitely some greens, as you can see from the rankings of the greens in the last, I think it was last month in the report, some of those greens are not where they should be, and Robert and Matt both know the expectations, and they're working to make sure that those expectations are going to be met.
Thank you. I don't like to bring it up at this level, but nothing was happening, so I thought it was necessary.
Rest assured something's happening, but I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that I was going to comment on is just, looking at the golf course numbers, it looks like we have a surplus in the operation of the golf course of a little over $62,000, and we're halfway through the fiscal year, so that's pretty solid performance.
And the best revenue months are ahead, so things are looking good, barring any major weather events or anything like that. But I know golf course was on track for the first 15 days of the month to be one of the best April on record. So everything's looking up for the golf course.
And that's still with the 6 months with construction going on and other things, so.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 months had the berm construction, and we probably lost $80,000 to $100,000 worth of revenue there.
One of the things I was going to mention, the berm project is 100% complete. The sluice gate motor has been installed. For the Wall Street side, that's the pumps that we're waiting for the electricity and gas to be installed. Once that's done, we'll test those things, and then that project will be 100% completed. So we are getting very close.
That's excellent news, considering we're heading into the heart of the rainy season. So good news all the way around. Any other questions for the city manager on his report? Okay, then we will move on. Which brings us to the consent agenda. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration during the regular agenda?
I'm going to remove, I believe it's item, got to get to the top. Item 4.
So that is the item regarding the contract with the engineer for Congo? Okay, just to be sure. Okay, so item 4 from the consent agenda will be removed and considered at the top of the regular agenda. Does any other council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? If there is none, then I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda as modified.
Move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda as modified? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda? All of those against? Any abstentions? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Which brings us to H, the regular agenda, and of course, we're going to consider the item pulled from the consent agenda first. Consider resolution number 2022-17, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Garza EMC LCC for the design services and construction management for the Congo Street reconstruction project. Austin Blees, city manager.
Mayor and councilors, as part of the current fiscal year in the CIP, the council allocated $100,000 for design work for the street project. Public Works has determined that Congo Street from Senate to Ecuador should be the next street to be completed. As part of that, staff is requesting that we utilize Garza EMC to do the design, bidding, and construction phase of the project. Total cost for that is $303,000. Currently, we're estimating the construction of the project to be $2.3 million for a total project cost of just under $2.7. Construction estimate includes allowances for inflation and change orders and those types of things, and this will be definitely discussed during the budget process, which we're getting into in May and June. If we decide not to budget for that street in this upcoming fiscal year, these plans would still be good for future years. Since we only budgeted $100,000, we do have quite a bit of money left over in the CIP fund from previous street projects that we're using for this. We've earmarked for this, so it would all be paid for out of the CIP, and anything else could be covered in the next fiscal year as well. Happy to answer any questions you might have. We did also, I should have mentioned, I've also submitted a request to Congresswoman Fletcher's office to see if we can get a community-funded project, federal cost share on this one as well, similar to what we did with Seattle Street.
All right. Any discussion on this item?
No, I called it off, one, because it's a hunk of money, but it's not out of the general fund. It's capital improvements. One, just to highlight, we are planning on these streets, right? The pace is almost one street a year, if not more, as things. So it's the forward thinking, forward planning. We're going into another planning session this month, and and Congo's a big one because a lot of things happen at the end of Congo and Ecuador. So also to highlight that things might be coming, and just awareness and build that. But I have no qualms with spending the money that needs to be spent.
Can you go into the selection process, why we chose Garza EMC?
Garza EMC, they've got a lot of great experience working with cities throughout the state. They work pretty well with cities. We've working with them on a couple of smaller projects, and they've been very responsive, very interested in our needs, and very responsive to what we have. It's one of the things that's been lacking in some of the other engineering firms we've utilized recently.
There was no other company considered?
We did not go for RFQ. We have the statement of qualifications for Garza EMC. They are definitely qualified. We didn't ask for proposals from anybody else.
Now, I was wondering more about bids.
This is a professional service, so you can't do formal bids on that. You'd have to do RFQs to find qualified service or qualified companies, then you negotiate the prices with them after that point.
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to highlight on this, since it came off, it's a couple of years ago, there was a lot of discussion about, hey, they're planning and they're not doing anything. There's no dirt being moved. They're not doing anything about flood mitigation. There's no dirt being moved. And the schedule for this project is on here. And one of the things I want to highlight is there's 180 days and $270,000 in design work before any action happens. Very few people will notice anything on Congo for at least about 6 months. Then there's a 30-day bidding process, and then they will start the work. And the work will take about 300 days to do and only $27,000 to make it happen. There's a lot of time and effort put into the planning process before any shovels get moved, before any concrete gets destroyed.
I think it's also worth kind of fleshing out more about the professional service aspect. Some people out there may be wondering, well, aren't you supposed to bid out everything? There is a state law, it's the Texas Professional Services Procurement Act, if I remember correctly, that certain types of work, cities are not only can cities avoid a public bid, they actually are prohibited by state law from going out and doing a traditional public bid process. So if you're wondering why didn't we put it out for bid, it's because we're prohibited from doing so. Instead, as Austin mentioned, there's an opportunity for firms to submit proposals, or not proposals, let me rephrase that, their qualifications. We're not even allowed by state law to discuss the financial aspect of the contract until we pick the most qualified firm and then negotiate a contract. So it's a little different. I'm not a huge fan of it. I kind of understand some of the reasoning for it, but Representative Hull and I might discuss that if there are ways to be able to open that up a little bit more. But I'm glad to hear, of course, that the actual construction aspects, of course, are going to be bid out. That's the biggest part of it. So, any further discussion or questions on this item? If there are none, I would entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve resolution number 2022-17.
I'll second.
Just to be clear, is it 17 or, sorry, the memo has two different numbers, 16 and 17. I want to make sure we got the right, I guess it is 17, is that correct? Okay, sorry, just wanted to be sure because the memo said 16 at one point. So we have a motion and a second on resolution number 2022-17. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. Which brings us to the regular agenda. Item 1, consider resolution number 2022-18, receiving the Planning and Zoning Commission's final report concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Article 4, Section 14-107, concerning permitted and specific uses in District H, Industrial District. Rick Faircloth, Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. After the public hearing, we met and we had passed the final report, and we've passed it along to the city secretary, and had no comment. All right, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we do have, again, this is just receiving the final report. Is there any discussion from council on this item?
Was that a unanimous vote in P&Z? Unanimous, yes. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further discussion or questions on the report, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022-18.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes. Which brings us to item 2 on the regular agenda. Consider ordinance number 2022-14, amending Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions, by adding definitions for certain uses. Amending Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 4, Zoning Districts, Section 14-107, Regulations for District H, Industrial District. Subsection A1, permitted uses, by removing certain uses from Zoning District H, amending Article 4, Zoning Districts, Section 14-107, Regulations for District H, Industrial District. Subsection D, specific use, by adding specific uses in Zone H, providing a severability clause, providing for repeal, providing a penalty as provided by Section 1.8 of the Code, and providing an effective date. Wow, even by government standards, that's a mouthful. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Yes, so Mayor, the background on this item is basically the Planning and Zoning Commission met. They prepared their preliminary report, which was presented to you back in March, and then you called for the joint public hearing, which was conducted today. All of the procedural requirements have been met, and this item is for the council to consider the approval of the ordinance.
Great, thank you, Lori. Any discussion on this item by council?
I
just wanted to say I really appreciate all of the verbiage and the details of all the different type of businesses. I know our previous ordinance stated a few of this, but you know, as the city continues to develop and as businesses continue to develop, there's new things that didn't exist 10, 20 years ago. So I think this was a much needed item.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you. I was a liaison to P&Z, and to see the interaction of the committee and the ideas, some of the things that they also wanted to see that were they contributed was very helpful. And then staff went through the process of making sure these were well defined, and learned a lot over the past year and a half about specific use permits, not only through this process but through others. And I think it's very helpful to our city that you know, we allow those in certain instances, and these for Zone H. A lot of these, I think we'd all agree, would probably require specific use, especially because of the size of Zone H, but just also because of the types of businesses listed.
Just to give people a little bit of context, if you weren't here for last month's meeting, anytime we do a zoning ordinance change of this type, we are required to go through certain requirements where we have a series of public hearings, or we have a series of steps that happen, and that it can't all just happen all in one meeting, and this is sort of the tail end of that. And what we're looking at today is a pretty big change, but one that I think that the vast majority of citizens in Jersey Village are going to appreciate and approve of. There's been, particularly lately, over the last month or so, there's been a lot of discussion about the quality of businesses coming into Jersey Village and whether or not they're appropriate for some areas, particularly areas very close to residential areas. And this is an ordinance that's going to take a lot of the sort of businesses that maybe are of not as desirable quality, particularly for a more residential type of environment, and ensure that they still are able to exist in the city potentially if they go through this the special use permit process, but it does take them out of the possibility of just being able to just move right into Jersey Village, ask for a permit, and go on their merry way. So it's we still do want to be a very welcoming place for business. It's just, I think this is a recognition of the fact that Jersey Village has changed a lot over the last couple of years, but more importantly, the areas around us have changed a lot. And maybe some types of businesses that we would have never even thought would be trying to move into Jersey Village even just 10 years ago are now suddenly looking at our area, and we want to make sure that we're attracting the right kinds of businesses in our city. Any further discussion?
I also wanted to add, more than just the aesthetics, I really did appreciate there's some different factors like the food processing and packaging. So, considering what businesses might produce certain smells, a jewelry manufacturing place which might have heightened security and more likely to be, unfortunately robbed. But I appreciate the aesthetics that were considered. I appreciate the other things that really will make our city just exactly what we want.
All right. Unless there's any further discussion, I would entertain a motion on this ordinance at this time.
I move to approve ordinance 2022-14.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. Which brings us to mayor and council comments. I'm going to start down at this end with Councilmember Mitchum.
Thank you. I wanted to say Founders Day was a huge hit. It was great. I feel like it went pretty smooth. Kudos to the whole team, specifically Parks and Rec Committee. They ended up staying till around 2, 3 a.m. to get that place completely clean so that littles could have soccer games the next day and fully use the parks and recreation areas. So, I mean, really, if you see them, give them a big old high five and a hug. They did great. And then I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day. We will not be meeting again before Mother's Day occurs. Wait, I said that right. So happy Mother's Day, all you moms for the day, moms for the week, bonus mom, all of those things. And then a reminder to vote. Elections coming up. Early voting is April 25th through May 3rd, with our big election day on May 7th.
I definitely want to pile on to what Michelle said about Founders Day, and a big, huge thank you to city staff, Robert and his team, Parks and Recreation, all of the volunteers that came out to help. We couldn't pull off an event like that without everyone. So big thank you, and we look forward to doing it again next year. So
Founders Day was great, and I'll second and third each of your comments. And somebody had mentioned beautification. I know there's an event on April 30th, sponsored by students at JV High School.
The Environmental Club.
And I think more can be found on social media about that. Election Day starts, early voting starts Monday, the 25th. So a week from today. So encourage you to get to know the candidates, and more so than just the very important local election, there's also two state constitutional amendments on the ballot. So well worth your time to get informed and go vote. And finally, speaking of voting, a person who's ineligible to run this year because he's served 6 full years on the city council will be giving his last council comments in a couple minutes. And I want to recognize Councilor Gary Rubenhorst for his years of service on council. And on a personal note, when I wanted to be a part of council, Gary was one of the first people I talked to, and he educated me, he interrogated me, and he's quickly become a mentor of sorts and a friend and a good colleague. And I've seen him serve. I also have seen him take part in other events in the city. Like, I had no idea he was a volunteer firefighter. So he walks the walk and talks the talk, and we're all grateful for your years of service, Gary. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Drew.
All right, Councilmember Singleton.
Founders Day was fantastic. Thank you to everyone that serves on the Parks and Rec Board, and all the volunteers that volunteered that don't sit on that city board. We could have done that event without you. I walked through City Hall and thanked several people and told Robert I was just blown away at that event. It went off so well. And right after that event, they then pulled off simultaneous egg hunts at 2 different city parks at the same time. That was pretty impressive also. The Chiefs had a very successful cleanup recently. I'd encourage everybody to come out to their next event is on May 14th at 7:45 a.m. A previous city council meeting, a citizen came up, mentioned some debris on Hempstead under 290. That was in TxDOT's area of responsibility, and thank you to Austin, working with the City of Houston, Amy Peck, and TxDOT, and they were able to get TxDOT to come clean all that stuff up. And then Gary, yes, I don't expect Gary to stick around until comments of next meeting. So I want to say thank you tonight. We haven't always seen eye to eye, but that should be expected since we're 6 very different people up here. But throughout all of that, we have very common goals and values. We both value the city, and it has been a pleasure working with you up here the last 4 years. And I know that you're going to continue to volunteer at the fire department and serve this city. So thank you very much for your time and your input while up here. And then, yes, there's an election going on. You should go vote. Everybody should go vote. Make your voice heard.
Thank you for the kind comments. This is my last council comment, so I'm going to make it a long one. I want to second the praise of the Parks and Rec Department. And, I also want to thank Senate Avenue Brewery for that fine fireworks show. It was spectacular and did a good PR job for Jersey Village, as everybody on the Beltway 8 got to see it too. But I don't want to stop with Parks and Rec. I mean, it's become a huge department, and Robert Basford has a large responsibility, and he's handling it very well. But the police department, we get a weekly police report in the city manager's status report, and you read about the different incidents that they handle on a daily basis. And especially with our flock cameras, they're picking up hits on vehicles that have armed felons in them. They're making arrests of these people. They're walking up on situations that are out of their control, and the only thing they have working for them is just performing according to their policies and doing their job in the best manner possible. And they're doing it. I mean, they're doing a great job for us. Fire department, you think that firefighting is dangerous because you're walking into burning buildings, but we just had a call this week of a domestic disturbance and they needed EMS help, and the police aren't on the scene yet. And it's, of course, we wait for police presence before making that scene, but it doesn't matter. It's still dangerous. These are the situations that you're trained to handle, but the danger is still there, and the fire department's doing a great job too. And I'm not going to leave out Public Works or Isabel with the accounting. The Public Works, obviously, anything, the main job that a city does is get the dirty water out and the clean water in, and besides that, they handle the mechanical part, was our apparatus at the fire department. They're saving the city a lot of money doing that. They're doing a great job, and they just did a great job of cleaning up the entrance to the golf course. That looks good now. I'm not sure who the municipal courts reports to, but is Isabel, yeah. So, yeah, and Officer Kerry Hale, we better not lose him because there's a lot of revenue coming in with him. But yeah, we've got a well-run accounting department. Every year with that certified financial report, we come back scoring really high and looking really good, and that's Isabel's job. So thank you very much. And of course, this machine wouldn't work as well as it did if it wasn't for the guy at the top. Thank you, Austin. And that's it.
Thank you, Gary. Without repeating what everyone else said, Founders Day was a blast. I mean, it was kind of almost mind-bending at times to see how well everything was running and how much fun everyone was having, and it was just, it was tremendous. It was as I said, at Founders Day, it was literally all hands on deck. I saw our court staff out there running a booth. I saw our presiding municipal judge out there also helping out. I mean, literally, it was all hands on deck, and they did a phenomenal job putting it on. So congrats to all the Parks and Recreation Committee doing a phenomenal job. The staff is just knocking it out of the park with these events. And man, I can't wait to see what comes next, because I mean, there's topping the next one, topping that with the next one, it's gonna be tough, but I bet they'll find a way to do it. I also want to reiterate, everyone go out there and vote. Definitely encourage you to take advantage of early voting. You'll be able to vote at dozens upon dozens of locations throughout the county, not just Jersey Village. That's a big change this year. So if you happen to work elsewhere, and if you've been called back to the office like many of us, and you're not able to just run down to City Hall at a moment's notice during the day, don't worry. You will be able to vote at dozens of different locations throughout the county, and it's actually going to be a little bit more expanded hours for early voting as well. So go to harrisvotes.com to find out more information about those hours and the locations for voting. I'm going to save the outgoing council member stuff until next meeting when we'll get to send them off in proper fashion. But I did want to respond to one quick little thing. I know everyone here, and we obviously are concerned about and discuss speeding issues very often, and it's something that's a frequent topic of conversation. And obviously, we want our officers, when they're able to be placed in a position to be able to ensure that people are observing speed limits and things of that nature. But as Gary pointed out very well, I think, these officers oftentimes get pulled away to take care of some much, much bigger problems. And as important as speeding is, just to give you an example, we get every week, members of City Council get an update as to what all of the different departments are doing. And I just wanted to give you all, just because this is something that not a lot of people see, this is one day, April 6th. One day, and I'll try to make this quick. So April 6th, Officer Hall was working the Lakeview Traffic Initiative when he observed a traffic violation. Officer Hall stopped the vehicle, smelled the odor of marijuana emitting from the vehicle. Officer Hall located a handgun and 5.8 ounces of marijuana. The driver was arrested and charged with unlawful carrying a weapon in an educational school zone, possession of marijuana, booked, goes to jail. Same day, Corporal Paz stopped a vehicle for a traffic violation on 290 Service Road. He developed probable cause to search the vehicle, and he found MDMA or ecstasy or whatever you want to call it. It's a illegal narcotic. And of course, that officer was arrested. And then that same day, officers got a flock hit with our license plate cameras. That indicated that it was a vehicle involved in catalytic converter thefts, as we know is becoming more and more of an issue every day. And they wound up tracking down the vehicle. They had to run after these guys on foot. I think they caught one of them, and y'all have got possibly some leads on the other guy. So if you're wondering why you don't see our officers sitting on a street just watching for traffic all of the time, they may be out there getting drugs off the street, or a handgun off the street, or a felon, or a stolen vehicle, or somebody who, in fact, and if I'd kept going with the update, we would have gotten to one where they found a crew running around with some devices, electronic devices they were using to make fake copies of keys, key fobs, and breaking into stolen vehicles. And in fact, I think they had information that they were targeting a residence vehicle at that point. Yeah, at a business. So, exactly. So so, yes, speeding is important, but I think most people would agree getting those kinds of guys off the street, much more important. So we'll keep doing both, but I tell you what, Chief, as long as y'all keep doing that, we can deal with the rest of it for a while. So with and of course at our next council meeting, we'll get to celebrate Councilmember Wubenhorst's years of service on this council. So I'll leave my comments till then. So with that, thank you all for coming to tonight's meeting. It was a short one, but a good one. So with that, meeting adjourned.